真面目な話だ。私は地球からはるか彼方にあるセイバートロン星から来た。正確に言えばトランスフォーマーと呼ばれる超ロボット生命体なんだ。人間や動物、生命を持つ者なら何にでも姿を変えることのできるトランスフォーマーの中のプリテンダーという種族なんだ。セイバートロン星ではサイバトロンとデストロンの果てしない戦いが続いていた。我々は敵のプリテンダーを追って太陽圏に突入し、戦いの中互いに傷つき地球に不時着した。地球はその頃人がホラー穴に住み、石や動物の骨で獣を追う太古の時代だった。帰る骨を失った我々は人間の姿にトランスフォームし、奴らもまた己を変えた。悪魔の姿に。長い戦いの末、我々が勝ち、悪魔どもを地球の各地に封じ込めた。だが、奴らは再び蘇った。
虫けらどもが泣き叫んでおるわ。ケンタケル、ぶち壊せ、皆殺しだ。なおらず、手なけする気か。ランド、貴様のやることは生ぬるいのよ。なんだと？やる気か。やめろ。仲間荒れしてる時か。
All right, let's do this thing. Hey, Anna Malkova. Am I saying that right? Anna Malkova. Oh boy. Anna, I love your work. Thank you for tuning in. Malkova. Am I saying that right there? Malkova. Excellent. Oh, thank you. I'm just gonna get right into it here, I guess. Hopefully the camera will be steadier than last time. Like I said, I can't speak much for the focus. That'll probably be a little screwy, but I haven't figured that one out yet. We'll get there. Hmm. I've definitely still got a few things to work out here. I've got the camera hovering a little bit closer to the work, but it's hard to get my head in there to see what I'm doing. Sort of like inking with a little bit of a handicap here. Mounting it upside down and flipping the video output. No, but I will give that a try. Maybe for now we'll just back it up a little bit. Bear with me. Sorry. It's trying to get in there so you could really see the detail. It's one of the advantages of the digital streams that I've seen is you can just, you know, as you zoom in on the screen, you just see, everybody can just see what's happening. But here, when I get real close to it, you all still get the same point of view. Not exactly a tech wizard here.
に閉じ込めてくれたな。
どうやって抜け出してきた？
お前の知ったことが今までの例たっぷりさせてもらうぜ。これまでだぞ。名残惜しいが死んでもらうぞ。
貴様たちの狙いは何だ？なぜ地球を？
分かりきったこと。地球を我が手にし、やがてはベクトロンの帝国を築くため。おしゃべりはここまでだ。ホーク、かぐら
Yeah, there's definitely advantages to, well, there's advantages to both digital and traditional art, but I tend to do both. I don't know how much of the blue part you can pick up here, but I usually do my pencils digitally and print them out in blue because, you know, like talking about all the zooming in and things like that. You know, you can reverse things, you can resize things, move them around. It's like super useful to have those things as options. Whereas, you know, if you're drawing on paper and you want to change something, you got to straight up erase whatever you're doing and kind of start over. So I like that part of doing digital artwork, but I also like to have the physical piece when you're done. And you know, so I printed out digital stuff before, but it's not quite the same. Oh boy. Hang on a second, sorry.
ガキの命が惜しかったら抵抗をやめる。
こいつらは引き受けた。おう。
Yeah, so I don't know. I just like the feel of inking traditionally. I guess I'm just more used to it. I've been doing it for a long time. You know, I'm pretty old, so I didn't have any of these neat tricks when I was kind of learning how to do this stuff. So, you know, in the old it's like riding a bicycle sense of things, you know, I'm used to it, the traditional tools, traditional way of doing things. So it's kind of what I fall back on. Optimus and Megatron have their signature weapons. Do you think this handgun is Jazz's? Yeah, I pretty much copied the model. I looked up or actually pulled out my ARC book and just looked at the style of the handgun. I mostly know it by memory, but I'm kind of a stickler for the details, so I want to make sure I got it right, or at least, you know, close to it. I always like the look of Jazz's gun. All right, let's switch over to Ironhide over here for a minute. I always like the shape of Ironhide's helmet. Let's see if I can switch the light here so there's not such a hard shadow on what I'm doing. I'm going to switch to the thinnest pen for the face, if I can find it. This paper is kind of small. I'm doing 8.5 by 11. I trimmed an artboard down. Basically took an 11 by 17 board and cut it in half. Sometimes I like working smaller, especially because this one is going to be shipped. I'm going to throw this on eBay after I'm done. It'll have to be shipped, and shipping 11 by 17 pieces is a bit more of a challenge than shipping an 8.5 by 11 piece. So just kind of trimmed it down a bit, but that means I gotta, the smaller the image, the smaller the pen I gotta use. If I don't want to lose some of what I got going on in here. And the face is something where I want to make sure I get in there and get the details right. You know, if I'm doing like part of one of their legs, and you know, I don't need to make sure everything is precise, but you know, if the face is wrong, you're gonna know it. Also got Ironhide and or Prime and Jazz are heading into whatever this battle is. With weapons in hand, Ironhide's just got his fists. Rosart is crashing my stream again. Hi, Nico. Is he there with you? One of the other things I have to work out is how to make the comments appear on the actual video. I exported this to YouTube. The last one, I should say, I exported to YouTube, but of course it's just the video without, you know, you can't see the comments, so I sound like I'm just kind of randomly talking to myself, which isn't actually that unusual for me, but you know, it'd be nice if people could see the questions, why I'm talking about what I'm talking about. No, OBS, huh? I'm gonna write that down too. I'm gonna look into that. I've literally, you know, I have no experience with any of this. I just kind of downloaded Twitch and hit the go live button. And here we are. So, not an ideal setup for this type of thing, but I just kind of wanted to try it out and see how it felt. You know, missing conventions with everything that's going on. You know, I'm kind of used to sitting at a table and people sort of watching what I'm doing. So that part doesn't bother me, but, you know, I kind of miss being at the conventions with everybody and people being able to ask questions and sort of, you know, interact while I'm working on this stuff. So I thought this would be a good thing to try right now while I'm at home, and a lot of other people are at home. So here we are. But yeah, as far as technical stuff, I am absolutely a rookie in every aspect of, you know, what I should be doing here. My biggest improvement over the last one was that I bought like an articulating arm to hold my phone, and instead of hooking it up to my drafting table, I've got it hooked up to this little side table, which is basically like a TV tray where I keep all my templates and stuff. And now I realize that every time I grab one of those, you get a little wiggle there. So, you know, a few more kinks to work out there, but that's okay. Hopefully you will all forgive me. But I will look into OBS. Is that an app? It's what a lot of streamers use. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. I will definitely be looking into that. Streamlabs. Okay. Look into that too. Getting more done on my note sheet than I am on the actual piece of art. All right, let's go up and do Prime's head here. I mentioned last time I like to do heads and hands first when I work. I just like to make sure I'm getting them right. If I'm going to rush part of a piece of work, I don't want to be rushing that. Time to do good old Optimus here. I'll have to post some close-ups of this when I'm done so you guys can actually see what's going on. It's all pretty tiny. I guess part of this is kind of learning what's a good thing to, to stream and what's not. for this.
早く乗りなさい。
これで邪魔者はいなくなったぞ。
Again, I always use the straight edge for Prime's little antenna. I don't want to screw those up. You really notice if they're crooked. Let's get a little close up there. Nice autofocus. That's great. All right. Let's do the old heroic point. I always get all that tedious detail in there with the hands. I haven't been able to break myself of that habit. Someday. There it is. Look, a squirrel. All right, let's do the other hand. Get the grip on that classic Prime gun there.
なんだって、なんて無謀なことを。で、キャボ王子はどっちの方角へ行った？確か神の島を探査するとか言ってたけど。神の島？場所はドンクに行こう。なんだ？行けロボクロ。うわ。海にはデストロンの気配はなかったぞ。王子が島を出てから相当時間が経ってるからな。となると残る場所は。
All right.
全員発育状態良好。デストロンのコマンダーとして働いてもらう。よし、基地へ運んだ。小僧。おのれサイバトロン。
フェニックス、人質を頼む。オッケー。
All right, let's do a little bit of this tedious straight edge work here. I hope everyone can handle the excitement. If anybody's still there. Self-deprecating humor is I like it, but rest assured it's only humor. Might not be funny, but it's supposed to be humor. Sometimes I put the wipers in, sometimes I don't, but he was looking a little plain, so I'm throwing the wipers on him. quite the villainous laugh right there. Sounds like something tragic is happening over on Master Force there. Is that a cat in the background? No, it's Master Force, the Japanese Transformers cartoon. I haven't actually gone through and watched. I own Master Force, Victory, and Headmasters, and really the only one I've watched a significant amount of is Headmasters, and even that I haven't watched that much, but you know, always kind of wanted to. I find them kind of fascinating because it's so different than like the Western versions that I grew up on. It featured a lot of the toys that I had when I was young that never really got a shot in animated fiction in the United States, like Pretenders and Power Masters and all those guys. A lot of them appeared in the Marvel comic, but not in the cartoon. I'm just going to keep leaning on the straight edge here because I guess it's what I'm comfortable with right now. If I keep doing these, I'll do some that are more, you know, organic. Not necessarily like organic creatures, but, you know, not leaning on the straight edge so much. Kind of freehanding it a little bit. Let's see. Do you have a favorite Transformers continuity? I mean, I grew up on Generation 1, and that's like, you know, I know in some circles being a G1er is a bad thing, but it's like I just have such a strong nostalgia for all that stuff. The Marvel comic, the old cartoon, as campy as it can be sometimes, I just love it. you know, as far as modern versions, you know, I might be a little bit biased, but even before I started working on them, I really liked what IDW was doing, and I still do. So that would be up there with my favorite Transformers continuities. You know, everything that, you know, started with Simon in the Asians, and then went through Shane and Mike Costa, and then to John Barber and James Roberts. It was just such a neat evolution of different styles, but I pretty much liked every step of it. And now you've got the world that Brian Ruckley is building in the new ongoing, which I'm really enjoying. I'm not completely up to current, but I'm close. And I enjoy the fact that uses a lot of the modern toy models. It's not my favorite thing to draw because you have to stay pretty strictly to the model, but again, that's what I grew up on. When I was growing up, it was like every issue of the Marvel comic was like, oh, look, we're going to focus on, you know, this Micromaster, this Pretender, or, you know, they kind of worked in all the new toys. And I'm sure it wasn't the best for the writers to have to keep working them in, but I know I sure liked it as a kid, seeing my toys, or the toys I wished I had, showing up in the fiction. So yeah, I'd say IDW would be one of my favorite continuities. And despite not being a huge fan of the Michael Bay movies, again, not like I've said before, I don't want to disparage anybody who is into that, but you know, that it wasn't really for me, and that's fine. But the Bumblebee movie I thought was great. I really loved it, and I hope we get to see more of that continuity. And I'm looking forward to the Netflix show. Well, you're doing a heck of a job. I absolutely love your work on that book. It's like, it makes me so happy when I see it. Thank you for the line art I put out on Twitter. You're welcome. I'm really glad that you and others are enjoying that. I was happy to share it. I love seeing all the different variations of colors on all of it. My daughter, Rose Art, is my daughter. She just got Smash Brothers yesterday, and I guess is having a tough time with it. Rose, who are you dying to? Who is defeating you in Smash? Anime people. Okay. Yeah, I didn't recognize. There's so many characters in Smash. I'm like, what I've seen of it, I don't recognize so many of them. I mean, I know I'm pretty out of touch with video games. Anything modern is like, you know, kind of a little new to me, but I didn't recognize a lot of the characters I saw in Smash. Nico's watching both your stream and me playing at the same time, and he loves it. Oh, good. Tires. Tires are a pain in the butt sometimes. So I bust out the old ellipse template. Makes it a little bit easier. I usually give tires four ridges. I don't know how well you can see that down there, but my kind of go-to for tires, generic tires, you just kind of like hit 4 ridges there, and then you sort of alternate directions on these little notches here. Probably way more detail than I need to be putting in here, but again, just like hands, I can't seem to get away from it. So I go that way on one, this way on the next. And then again, back to this way. And there you have a reasonable looking tire, I guess. One of these days I'll learn to just kind of fill it in black and then be done with it. Alright, let's get back to some hands here, because why not? Get the blast there. And Ironhide's got a little balled up fist under here. It looks like my counter is working. It says there's 14 people watching. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, whatever. Tell me where I screwed up. Whatever you want to do. Getting live Smash updates.
死体のデスロイドなどおよびもつかんと片っ端から叩き食わせ。
It's a great laugh.
二度目の旅客機を逃がしましたき。よく言うぜ。何？それより生物学だ。早くなんとか。
I'm gonna give Prime a little, one of those little hip things. I don't really know what you call it, but sometimes he has a little thing on his hip instead of just the little robot underwear that he has on his G1 character model. Just need to get that border in there so I can draw in Ironhide's hand. Other hand. I always feel like I've accomplished something when I get all their heads and their hands drawn. Like, okay, I can just fill in the rest now. If I've done that right, that's like half the battle of making it look right. Robot pouches. Oh, that's cool. That makes sense. You'd go crazy with them if you did like a Liefeld robot. Rob Liefeld and I have a bitter rivalry, meaning we really don't. Some people who follow my Twitter might know that he blocked me on Twitter. I'm not a hater. I wasn't hating on him at all. We were actually having a basketball conversation, and I kind of accused him of... I didn't accuse him of anything. He was actually talking about LeBron James. He doesn't like LeBron James, and you know, basically was claiming that he wasn't that great a player. And you know, I basically was like, you know, you're in denial because you don't like him, and he is a great player. It's like, it's not an opinion, it's a fact. There's numbers to back it up. But you know, I thought we were having a fun conversation about basketball. I was like, oh, this is great, because a lot of times sports and you know, kind of this type of stuff don't really cross over. So I was just enjoying the conversation, and I went to reply to him at one point, and it said, you know, you are blocked from replying to this user. And I was like, what? Why? So, you know, he just got a little sensitive, I guess, about my LeBron James take, or my take on how he felt about LeBron James. So that's the extent of my rivalry with Rob. Yeah, he's a little bit he's an interesting fellow, is the nice way I'll put it. I always thought, you know, with all the knocks on his work, and most of them being, you know, legitimate, I always thought he brought like an energy to his work that, you know, kind of like made up for the lack of technical skill. But, you know, I don't know. I always enjoyed having a good laugh at some of the images that have been called out over the years. But I am officially blocked.
どうしても急ぎたいのです。日本の学会に出席する生物学者のブラニアさん。
Yeah, that's right. His loss.
特別機でここに立ち寄ります。で、我々も。
私がついてるから大丈夫よ。それに私、早く日本に行って日本舞踊を習いたいの。君、日本舞踊が好きなの？
Well, that's good that you give him that much. Yeah, I mean, yeah. He's got some issues, I think. But yeah, he is persistent, I guess. And people still you know, they still buy his stuff. You see him do like a variant cover and people still try to grab it. So I guess he's doing something right. His hand is kind of jacked up, but not as bad as the Liefeld hand. Ha ha ha. Oh yeah, Rob Liefeld is a comic artist who got, you know, very popular in the 90s. He worked on New Mutants. He kind of helped turn that into X-Force. He's the creator of Deadpool, Cable, Domino. I think Domino was his. A bunch of the X characters from that era were sort of credited to him, and he was one of the founders of Image Comics. Never short on ego. Are you about to get Link in Smash Brothers? Nice. My son has an adorable speech thing. I guess he's listening to me now, but his L's all come out sounding like Y's, so Link is Yink. So we just went through and beat Ocarina of Time together. And yeah, his name, Link's name in our quest was A, because he just sort of grabbed the controller and you know, mashed buttons until the game started. So we played through the entire game with the character's name being A. Link was named A. Yeah, a lot of people are quick to throw their opinions out there, but, you know, 'cause if somebody gets too aggressive with an opinion I'm not fond of, I will unfollow them. Does anybody on here watch Master Force? I'm peeking over now and again. There's like the Seacons are just kind of like, it's like a million of them, like the Insecticons. All right, Cybertron Warriors, have a great day at work. Stay safe. Oh, wet boys. Oh yeah, I don't get too too into my personal outlook online. I like to kind of keep it just about the work, you know. I certainly have my opinions, but you know, I try to keep them bottled up for the most part. I feel like, you know, sometimes you need a break from that. There's so much of that stuff out there. I'm just like, yeah, I just want to keep this about some fantasy world where robots are fighting. Robots from other planets are fighting each other, and I don't have to worry about real life for a while. Not disparaging anybody who does put their opinions out there. It's just not for me. At least not right now.
果たしてデストロンは次にどんな攻撃を仕掛けてくるのか。
さまざまな事件をきっかけに知り合った僕たちは今ヘッドマスタージュニアにトランスフォームする。しかしデストロンも3人の少年たちを悪の仲間に。世界トランスフォーマー超人マスターフォース誕生ヘッドマスタージュニア。さあマスターフォースで君もトランスフォーム。
I always like to give my robots this weird little like robot bicep. I'm not sure where I picked that up from, or if it just came out of my own little head, but there's this awkward, you know, because I grew up with G1, and G1 just kind of like played with the physics of everything. You know, you have the top part of the arm, and then you have the forearm, and then in between there's just this little thinner piece of metal that just kind of like bends, and there's no sort of explanation as to how that really happens. Sort of like metal faces, like how does that work really? But you know, we saw when Don tried to do a more realistic look, Don Figueroa tried to do a more realistic look of how their faces might work in the Costa ongoing, and it was not a great response to that. But anyway, so with this little mid section of arm there, I kind of make a little robot bicep. I put a little kind of circular joint here that I imagine runs through to the other side, and that kind of gets the bend at the elbow. Sometimes there's a little piece of the hinge right there. And then, you know, separates it from another part that would be down below the forearm. I don't know. It works for me. I haven't heard anybody tell me it's stupid yet, so I'll keep doing it. Nico wants you to know we got him. He's really excited. Oh, good. I'm excited to see you play as Link. Yink. So I think I'm going to do another stream on Friday. It was my initial plan was to try to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe try out different times. So I'm not sure exactly what time I'll do on Friday, but I'm going to give it a try. Maybe I'll do a different time. Maybe I'll repeat one of the times I've done either today or Monday. We'll see. Support all the dumb cons. Yeah, I mean, they seem kind of like they've got some dumb ones running around. Get that smokestack in there. I forgot I was going to put these little, I don't know what they are, some kind of like floodlights up on top of Prime's cab. It's kind of a very G1 flare there, but I'm a fan. Running lights. Okay, running lights. Alright, let's fill in the Autobot symbol here. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I probably should be replacing this pen very soon. It's kind of starting to not work that well, but I always hang on to them till the bitter end. All right, we're coming together there. Alright, let's do Prime's other arm. Do his little blaster, cannon, whatever you call it. Gun. What do you guys think? What's the best like signature weapon for Transformers? Megatron's cannon. Anything else? Shockwave's gun arm. Soundwave, oh, that's a good one. Soundwave in general, like that G1 figure, the original like Diaclone or Microman or whatever it was, that thing's like, it's got a little bit of magic in it. RC's flame swords, yes, I loved that. As you might be able to tell, anybody who follows me, I've drawn her quite a bit with the flaming swords, and I really enjoyed that look. Right, the weapons turn into batteries. That's like the one thing when I show my kids, like, that they still know what it is. They don't know what a cassette is, but the AA batteries they sure recognize. Grimlock's sword, yeah, that's a good one. Megatron's cannon. Windblade sword, yes. I like kind of the strange, you know, abnormal curvature of Windblade's sword there.
いいか、運転はマスターフォースとの連携で即座にできる。さあ、みんな試してみたまえ。
My first blaster. Yeah, that's good. Null rays for life. Yeah, you gotta love the null ray. Starscream always spoke so confidently about his null ray in the cartoon, but did you ever really get an idea of what they actually do? Like, what makes them special? Just sounds cool. And he's so proud of them, you feel like they kind of have to be good. Stasis lock. Oh, that makes sense. I'm sure it says it on the tech spec, but I just don't really remember. Optimus had that axe in his sword. My son, Nico, is a big fan of the axe. Yeah, I think like back in Generation 1 that their kind of abilities just changed depending on what they needed in a given episode. Let's see. Yeah, that was great. I loved when they did the reissue of the Generation 1 toy, the Megatron's purple Morning Star. That was very cool. I've got that one sitting over across the room. Oops. Yeah, that was a very cool weapon, Ironhide's Warhammer. Turbo Warhammer. I do like a lot of the Siege toys. I like the whole vibe, the kind of scuffed up effect that is on them. It may be a little overdone on some of them, but generally I like it. I like the idea of it. Weapon name, yes, definitely. Weapon name is more important than what it actually does. If it sounds threatening, that's half the battle. Yeah, most of the I probably have. Let me look over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Siege figures, and yeah, the transformations are like the perfect, to me, the perfect degree of like, I wouldn't say challenge, but you know, I don't have to sit there for 10 minutes trying to figure out what goes where, but it's not just like a 3-step changer, you know, it's like, I feel like they kind of nailed that for my preferences at least. I have Chromia, Ironhide, Springer, Soundwave, and Megatron. I really like all of those toys.
トランスフォームできる方法を考えた。ヘッドマスターズのクロームドームと連絡を取ってね。
クロームドーム
Skating flip.
僕父さんと
Yeah, I haven't picked up any of the Seekers, but they're on the list one of these days.
整絶な戦いだ。彼らは地球から見事デストロンを追放し、今宇宙での
Yes, I love that. It's about what the null ray does to your self-esteem.
クロームドームが
Just picture Starscream walking in his high heels, hitting you, just telling you he's going to hit you with the null ray, and then the job is done.
メタルホック、元気かい？依頼あったトランステクターとマスターホースを組みます。ここ数年宇宙でのデストロンの攻撃ぶりが疲れたし、僕がその撃退に追われて休む暇もないします。君たちも地球の平和のため、力の限り尽くしてほしい。では、いずれ会う時まで。
あの人がクローンドームかっこいい。私たちも負けてられないわ。ね。よーし、みんなで頑張ろう。
だが、一つだけ心配なことがある。地球に到着した荷物の中から何組かが盗まれていたんだ。
まさかデストロンが。
それはわかる。
Yeah.
がしかし、それから数ヶ月してデストロン
I saw somebody post a picture of Starscream with like, or I guess,
その目、その僕がやっつけて。
was it
いいか。
you, Anna? Was it, somebody posted it. It was like 2 pictures. One was the top half of Starscream. Yeah, and the bottom half was like a lady's legs. And, you know, I like to have as much fun as anybody with kind of thinking about silly versions of, you know, these characters I grew up with. And, you know, usually I think, yeah, that's silly, that's funny. But with Starscream, it's like, yeah, no, that's about right. If Starscream was a human, he would definitely have a little bit of that type of flair. Some high heels or something of that nature.
何運の小手調べか。お前たちも負けずに暴れてこい。
Yeah, it was perfect. All right, Prime's coming together there. That's good. Right, in Prime, he really did kind of have high heels, didn't he? That's one I need to get into. I've seen little bits of Prime here and there, but I've never like kind of watched the whole thing, start to finish. But there's a lot of love for that series, and you know, it looks cool to me. So one of these days, I'll kind of get through it.
どうしても必要な時は認める。でも今は救援活動が先だ。
You know, it's one of the weird things that was hard for me to kind of accept when I saw. You know, I don't like to critique other artists' versions of these things. Everybody's doing their best with their vision, but the lack of noses, I'm like, design-wise, I'm just not a big fan. Even though there's no real reason for a robot from another planet to have a human-looking nose, I just like, I prefer my Transformers to have noses. But you know, it's not a knock on the show or the designers or anything like that. Just personal preference.
今度はお前やってみろ。俺の勝ちだな。
待ってよ。おい、マイさん。オイラの方が飛んでるだろ。
おい、キャンサー。そこの剣を投げてみな。
そうか。それ。
Yeah, my son was actually watching that show today. Megatron had gotten the dark energon or whatever that basically enabled him to have a zombie army, zombie robot army, and Prime and Ratchet were kind of like, making their little last stand, while Bulkhead and RC and Bumblebee were kind of busting into the Decepticon base, and it was pretty action-packed, and I was like, yeah, I could get into this for sure. Yeah, I definitely appreciate the designs. It was like, what maybe, how the Bay movies were sort of a different take on the originals, but I think I like the way they did it in Prime better. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they would have sort of an alien look. It's something that, just kind of like accept, watching G1 that they all speak English and they don't really explain how or why. It's like, but really they should kind of be a bit more alien, shouldn't they? Yeah, Welker's voice is very good as Prime Megatron. All right, let's move on to. Let's just keep going with Jazz down here. It's going to keep the Autobot symbol just on one arm, like G1 Prime. I wonder if they did that so the animators didn't have to draw it more than once. That's pretty rough. Animating traditionally has got to be pretty intense gig, but having to add those Autobot and Decepticon symbols must have been a real pain. Yeah, a lot of people like Soundwave from TF Prime, and I haven't seen much of him in that show. He looks extremely different. So, naturally for me, it's like, I don't know what's up with that. But there's so much love for him that I figure they must be doing something right. And whenever I get a chance to go through and watch, I'm hoping to be a fan as well. All right. More tires, my fave. What is that? 1, 2, 3. And we'll do that. Spaghetti noodle fingers. I'd like to check out that art book at some point. Alright, let's get those little vents on the shoulder things. Robot Slender Man. Oh, my daughter's got a thing with Slender Man. Don't tell anybody. I know she's watching. I missed the whole Slender Man thing. I don't really get it. But Sorry I called you out, Rosie. Let's get Jazz's little underwear there. Oh, I don't know. Wait, TFA Soundwave is greater than TFA Soundwave. Which one is greater? I thought you were saying TFP is greater than TFA. Sounds like they're a bit of a different beast. I don't know. Are you sure? Look at this thing. The guitar? Come on. That's amazing. But, you know, if he is better, then I look forward to finding out. All Soundwaves are trying their best. That's right. We don't need to play favorites. Sorry, I bumped everybody there. To turn my hat around backwards. I'm wearing a baseball hat and the front brim keeps hitting the little camera holder there. Oops. Disaster. Yeah, the baby face for Optimus, that I will say that. Like the lack of a nose and that little kind of little mouth, and then you get that gravelly, deep Peter Cullen voice coming out of that little baby face. It's kind of a bit of a disconnect for me. Baby who was born with a grandpa aura. There you go. Not buying the Soundwave with a face, huh? That's okay. Let's see, how are we doing on time here? About 2:30, that's good. We'll keep going for another half hour and see how far we get. I may work on this more tomorrow on my own, or I may save it for Friday, try to finish it on the stream Friday. I've also got, I started a little hot rod on Monday when I did my first stream. He's still sitting there unfinished, so we've got options. Anything that any of you would like to see? Basically, what I haven't opened up commissions yet, but I did have a few private commissions that I've been sitting on for a long time that I'm kind of working through, and I'm also doing some of them specifically for eBay, like this one right here. I just kind of wanted to draw the image, scan it, maybe make a print out of it, but then, you know, I'm just going to throw it up on eBay. So, you know, I'm not guaranteeing I'll draw anything that anybody requests, but feel free to throw something out there if you want to request something, and if it sounds like fun, maybe I'll draw it in a future stream. Future stream with hopefully a steadier camera and maybe the chat window in the actual stream itself, and all these wonderful things that I'll figure out eventually. Huh. Deeper, huh? Okay. Well, that's okay. I was the bass singer in the barbershop quartet I used to be a part of. Kidding about that. I was actually the bass in Rockapella on the Carmen Sandiego show. Orion Pax was in Prime, huh? I didn't know that. Is that a Bob Ross sticker? That's kind of amazing. Oh, thank you. I loved, I mean, I know I've probably said it too many times, but I loved IDWRC. Something about the design, the attitude, it just worked so well for me. I loved drawing RC. I did it any chance I could. I loved the fact that she was in the Optimus Prime book, so I get to draw her regularly on covers. Yeah, anytime I got to draw her, I tried to work the swords in there and just make her look like as much of a badass as I could. Weirdest commission I've ever received. Commission request. I don't know if anybody watched the stream that Josh Perez put on after TFCon didn't happen. I kind of told the story there. The weirdest thing I ever got, and I didn't end up doing it, I just kind of couldn't bring myself to do it, but one of the first conventions I ever did, there was a guy that came up to the table and he had like photo reference in hand, and he asked if I could draw Sylvester Stallone as a Transformer in the kind of Michael Bay universe style. I think he was supposed to have a helicopter alt mode, and then after he made that request, he asked if I did it and he didn't like it, if he didn't have to pay. And I was, you know, very politely declined. But that, to me, that was the weirdest one, because I'm like, that it's so, I can't even imagine that anybody would want that. I mean, I don't want to judge. If you're a big Stallone fan, great, but that is just the weirdest thing. A lot of times I like the weird ones. You know, I did one for TFCon that was a few years ago. It was it Ambulon sitting in a round inner tube sipping a cocktail on like a beach somewhere. You know, stuff like that's just kind of different and fun. Yeah, I think the Stallone person just wasn't really familiar with that sort of like the convention environment and stuff like that. It was very weird for sure. Other than sort of what it looks like, I'm not too familiar with Thunderhoof. I didn't watch that RID show. I've seen pictures of Thunderhoof with the... That's the one that has basically the antlers, right? Even in robot mode. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Alright, let's move on to Ironhide's upper half here, because I don't know, to me the upper half is a little more exciting than the legs, unless we're talking Starscream, obviously. That was my funny, hilarious joke. I have a pretty dry sense of humor, so hopefully people can tell when I'm joking around. My wife sometimes complains she can't tell when I'm kidding, or if I use sarcasm a little too much. So if I say, "Oh wow, that's great," she'll think I'm upset because I'm a little too sarcastic sometimes. I haven't done Toronto in a few years, but I'd like to get back there at some point. I'm just hoping we can get back to conventions at all at this point. I mean, I know this won't last forever, but, you know, nobody really knows when things will get to the point where we can do that stuff again. But I really missed TFCon in Florida. That was shaping up to be a really good one. And I was very sad that that got canceled. I totally, obviously, agreed with the decision, but it was tough. It's a lot of friends that really you only see at these things. All right. Back to Ironhide. Ironhide, I had to kind of, I didn't have to, but I decided to add a few little details. He is just so plain. G1 Ironhide is so plain that I felt like, you know, adding a little detail on the shoulders and, you know, I don't remember what else I added. You know, just a little extra dimension around the arms would kind of make him fit in with everyone else here. I really like the simplicity of the G1 models, but you know, sometimes I like a little bit more detail. All right, they moved Toronto to September, yeah, and Chicago's in October. So yeah, that'll be, you probably won't get a lot of folks doing both shows. Zombie Prowl, where are you from? Are you in Canada? Canada's actually easier for me to go to than the US. Must be from neither, I guess. If you don't mind me asking, I shouldn't assume that everyone's okay with revealing where they're from. Mexico. Oh, very nice. So Canada's easier to get to from Mexico than the US. Interesting. Okay, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Wow, $7 Canadian. I've only been to Canada once, and that was for my first and only TF Con, but I'd like to get back there. Oh, it's on now. Head on. Wow, that's too bad. Yeah, Anna, it would be really great to meet you in person someday. I'd like to get back to, I almost said Auto Assembly. Don't blame me. TF Nation. I know a lot of times you go to that show, and I would love to get back. I really enjoyed it when I went to my one and only Auto Assembly. So yeah, I'd love to get back there. All right. It's ready for business. Yeah, that's the vibe I got from Auto Assembly, and yeah, it's nice. I think I find TFCon to be the closest thing to it, in terms of like, you know, I wouldn't call it a small show, but you're definitely you've got like the regular people that you see every time, and it's like a kind of a good vibe. I find, maybe my perspective's different than some others, but I really love the vibe of TFCon. Seems like people get along really well there. Not a lot of judgment. I'm really jacking this up. Yeah, I can say, being here in the U.S., the exchange rate doesn't necessarily work in my favor when I'm looking at flights. It's very expensive, but it's worth it when I can afford it. Sorry for the wiggles there. I'll have to start keeping my templates on a different area while I do this, so I don't keep wiggling the camera. Has the focus been okay for most of this? I know last time it was going out of focus quite a bit. Okay, that's good. There's hope for me yet. All right, very good. Ironhide's got these big bulky legs. Kind of make them a little thicker than the cartoon. Feels appropriate. Let's see. Anybody else have this book? I love this book. There's Ironhide's little legs. Ooh, I didn't even see that little vent action going on here. I'll have to add that in. But it's got these little blocky, skinny legs. I like to make them a little thicker. It seems appropriate to me. Ha! Mastering, yeah. I'm a master now. Anybody wants any streaming advice, feel free to hit me up. I know what I'm doing here. Yeah, they've got enough material to make some more art books. I'd love to see, you know, just as a fan of a lot of the other folks that do this stuff, I'd love to see a book filled with like the black and white art from the comics and covers and stuff like that. I'd love it if IDW did some of that. These little bits are from a little explosion down below. You probably can't see that, but just in case you're wondering why I'm doing these random circles here. Yeah, the book is called The Ark, I guess. I thought it had a more full, a more full name, but Complete Compendium of Character Designs, and it's all G1 really. If you're looking for anything outside of G1, it's not useful, but you know, it's got all the original US cartoon stuff, and even towards the back you get like stuff from the Japanese cartoon. It doesn't have any color, but if you don't need color, which usually I don't, it's about as good as you can get for reference for the Generation 1 characters. It's been out of print for a while, but if you can find it, it's pretty great. Alright, what are we looking at here? We got about 5 more minutes or so. Just kind of keep chipping away a little bit. Time to hunt. Yeah, good luck. Alright. Let's do Jazz's lower half here, since he's in the foreground. This, I believe, is called a French curve, and they come in different sizes, different. Like I've got this little one right here. This, you know, different degrees of curve and bend and whatnot, and it doesn't always match up exactly with what I'm looking for, but I find when you need to like repeat the same angle or curve, you really can't beat this. I mean, you can do a lot freehand, but like, you know, if you had like a bunch of lines and you wanted them all to kind of go in the same direction, whether you want it to be you know, drawn in perspective or straight or whatever, you kind of can't beat this thing. And I kind of round off the upper leg portions of the robot, so you know, when I'm drawing one that's longer than like an inch or two, it's good to, you know, have this tool to make it accurate. That looks pretty stupid, but you know what I mean. Yeah, they're super handy.
君のお兄さんがそう言ってたのか？ええ。最近前にた私はここをたまり場にしてるって。車なら1時間で行けるわ。行くぞ。はい。
Oh, sure thing. I hope they come in handy. Do most of you on here draw yourselves?
クリスのやつはどうした？仲間が連れてもう戻ってくるよ。
Seems like some of you do. I know one of you does. Like to pretend I do. Well, that's okay too. Yeah, I know you do. You can't fool me. 3D design and print. Oh, that's nice. That's something I'm totally in the dark on. But I'm impressed by a lot of the stuff I see. Yeah, you can definitely drop a lot of money in supplies. I've gotten cheap over the years, to be honest, but you can spend a lot quickly. Oh, I've seen some of your watercolors, Anna. They're amazing. You've posted them on Twitter. That would be awesome to see, like a comic book cover done in that style. That'd be very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of marker people out there too. I haven't gotten too much into that. I think what it really takes is time to train on anything you're not familiar with, and time is one thing that I don't seem to have too much of. Yeah, can we get some love for Anna's work? It's really awesome. Huh. Well, that's very kind of you. I'm always like surprised when, it's neat when you kind of like somebody that you look up to, you find also appreciates what you do. It's like the mutual appreciation it's nice. It's a good feeling. So thank you. Yeah, I have no problem with that. lay the compliments down for Anna. Yeah, if we could figure that out, I'd be down for that. Like I said before, I know nothing about the tech of doing that, but that would be awesome. All right, well, look, it is 3 o'clock, and I think I've got to go. But I feel like I could kind of keep doing this all day if I could, but I've got a few other things I need to do. But thank you everybody for coming on and interacting. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys had a good time. Hopefully the Master Force background was entertaining enough. But yeah, thank you. This was really great, and I hope to do more of this. I mean, I'm having a good time, and it seems like some of you are as well. So hope everybody has a great rest of your day, night, wherever you are. Stay safe, and yeah, we'll do this again soon, sometime Friday. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.